Hi guys, and welcome to another Divi Theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Well, we've got three little hover effects for you today. It's a question that always comes up. People have been asking about this. I've got a little image here. When I hover over, I've got a little call to action. It's going to drop down on that one. It's going to fade in on this one. And it's going to slide in from the left on this one. Really easy to do. We've just got to do a tiny bit of coding for this today, but that's really easy. Don't let that put you off. Any code I write, I'll put down below. You're welcome to copy it and use it as you need. So let's get started. I'm going to enable the visual builder here. Okay, once loaded, let's go down to where we want to work. I've got a section here, the blue tab. I'm going to add another row. In fact, let's add a new section. Little blue button to add a new section. I'll make it a regular section. Inside, I'm going to put a row with 3 columns, as we've got 3 different effects here. I'm going to use a call to action for this today. This will actually work with any module you like. Divi comes as standard with all these modules, plenty enough to build just about any site. If you've got WooCommerce installed, it'll also give you a dozen more modules to display your products with. So I'm going to use a call to action. Like I say, use what you need to use. Okay, if we roll down here, there's our little call to action. It comes with a sort of generic background and a bit of script. So let's put our first little call to action in here. Put in what you want for the title, obviously. What you want your button to say there. And you may have noticed there's no button showing. That won't actually show up till we put a link in down below here, and we'll do that in a moment. So put in what you want your button to say, obviously in the button field there. And we've got a text field here, where you can add any kind of text, justify, align, bold, italicize, make lists, and add media if you want to. I'm going to take a little bit of this script where I don't want quite as much as that. I'm just going to put a question mark on the end, seeing as I've put the title as question 1. That's shortened it up for us a little bit there. Okay, well, let's get our button now. I'm going to go down to link, button link URL. Obviously, put the URL of where you want to put your button in right there. And always best practice, if you're linking to your own site, leave it in the same window. If you're linking off-site, open it in a new tab. That way your site will stay open. If you want to link the whole module rather than the button to somewhere else, you can have 2 separate links, or put the same link in if you're desperate to get them to the same place. But that's up to you. I'm just going to use the button for mine today. Okay, background color. I'm simply going to change mine from a aqua to a sort of purple or something there. Obviously you do yours how you want, and we've got all the fantastic background options for Divi here. We've got background color, gradient, image, background video, background pattern, or background mask, and just add those as you wish. We've done plenty of videos on those in the past. Okay, so we've got it kind of shaping up like we want it. Now what do we actually want to happen with this one? We're going to have this one drop down from the top and perhaps have an image in the background. So we'll start off with an image like we had at the top there. And the way these work is that the image is actually residing in the column that our module is sitting in. And then we move the module where we want it to slide in or drop down or whatever, using a bit of margin and padding. So let's go up to our design tab now. I'm actually going to give this a fixed height. So I'm going to go down to sizing. And if we roll down, we've got a height setting here. I'm going to make mine, say, 300 pixels tall. And you can adjust these for tablet and mobile if you want to. Most hover effects really work best on desktops, but they will work on tablets and mobile too. They just got to tap on them. So this is common to most Divi modules. If you hover over the dark writing here, you'll see some icons. If there's a little mobile phone type icon, click on it. And you can set different heights and widths for tablet. It's going to work fine on tablet if I just move this out of the way. And for mobile also. Yeah, that's going to be fine on all of those. Great, so let's flip back to desktop. And we'll continue. Okay, so we've given this a fixed height. So you can have several of them and put different amounts of text in, and they'll always remain the same height. And also we know how much we can push it up by to make it disappear. So let's push it out of the way and make it disappear. To do that, we're going to use a bit of spacing. as I mentioned earlier. So let's go down into spacing, still under the design tab. Let's move this down here, you can see what's going on better. Okay, and to move it out of the way, we want to move it 300 pixels up the top here. So let's give it a negative 300 pixels. There it is, it's kind of jumped up over our little ones that are above here, and it's scooted up by 300 pixels. I'm going to give it more than that. I'm going to give it 350 because we've got a bit of gutter on our row here, which is the space top, bottom, left and right. So we've got to account for that. I'm going to give it an extra 50, which will jump it up another 50. And I'm also going to put a lot of padding on the bottom. Let's say 600, double the amount that we've got on top there. That way, we've actually got a handle that when it slides up, we can hover over this and bring it back down again. But of course, we want to see our image in the background there. So let's sort out our background image. And obviously, we don't want all this stuff. We don't want to be able to see this when it's moved out of the way. So we'll fix that too. So let's save our little module settings here. And we're going to go into the row. Green tab for a row, blue tab for a section, dark tab for a module. I'm going to go into the row here, the green tab. Here's our first column right here. I'm going to give it a fixed height of 300 pixels, just the same as we gave our module initially. So let's go over here. And this is the only line of code we need to write today. It's really simple. In the main element under custom CSS under the advanced tab, I'm going to write height, colon, 300 pixels. Semicolon. And you may have noticed there's no change whatsoever. What we have to do, we've actually told this that this column can only be 300 pixels tall. But now we need to tell it anything that falls outside of our 300 pixels, like the bottom of this and the top of this, we don't want to see. So to do that, I'm going to close up custom CSS, and I'll put this tiny little line of code down below for anybody who wants to use it. Just make it the size that you want it. So I'm going to close up the custom CSS. I want to go to visibility just down below. And here we got horizontal, vertical, overflow. I'm going to switch those to hidden. As you can see, it's hidden the top part and the bottom part. Change that to hidden as well. Good, that works. So we've got our little 300 section there. We've got our call to action module up the top here at the moment. So let's bring it back. Done everything we need for our column. We'll save the column and we'll save the row settings, go back into our module. Now, because we've positioned it up here, you may have trouble getting to it because if I hover over, you can't see the little black tab. If you have this issue, hit the little purple button there. We can go to what they call back-end mode or wireframe mode. And that's like being on the back end, and you can get to your modules quite easily that way. Once in there, just flip back to desktop. Okay, so all we're left with there is a purple square. Now, I don't want to see a purple square, I want to see an image. So I'm going to set what they call a hover state for this. In the background, when we're not hovering over it, I don't want to see any color whatsoever. So actually, before we adjust these colors, let's put something in the background of that column so we'll be able to see it. I'm going to go back into my row and my column again. Column 1. In the content, let's give it a background, and we can choose an image. And remember, it won't fall. Whatever image you choose, it'll only show the 300 pixels tall of it. So let's go over to image right here. I'm going to click on the image, and let's shake it up. Let's use some different images for this. So as you can see, I've got a tiny little bit of the image flowing out at the bottom there. I may have to adjust the padding on the bottom because we don't want to see anything when the actual module's down there. So we've got our image in there. Let's go back and adjust our module again. Back to wireframe to get to this particular one. Okay, well, let's adjust that padding because I want it to cover everything so that I know we're not going to see it initially, but I want it to cover everything so when they put their mouse anywhere on that, it'll trigger it. If I leave that there when they put their mouse there, it won't trigger it. So let's go into our design, back to our spacing. I'm just going to add a little bit more on the bottom. Let's say 650. That's great. Now we don't want to see this color, we just want to see the image initially. So what we can do is go back to our content, to our background. And again, this is common to most Divi modules. If you hover over up the dark writing, we've got some little icons here. Hit the little arrow icon and we can set a desktop state when the mouse is not on it and a hover state, obviously, when the mouse is on it. For the desktop state, I don't want to see any color at all. So you can either put a transparent in there. Let's do that. Or you can just pull the opacity on that purple down. Then when we hover over it, we want to bring that color back. So I'm going to add a purple in there. Great. But we're not seeing anything because we've not set the hover state to bring this down when we're hovering over it. So let's go over to our design now. We'll go to our spacing. And we'll do exactly the same thing. I'm going to get the margin hover state up. I'm going to hit the little arrow. So we want it 350 up the top there when we're not hovering over it on desktop. When we're hovering over it, we want it to be 0. So I just put a 0 in there and it'll pop back down. And there it is. And the time that it takes with Divi to go from desktop to hover state is 300 milliseconds, which is pretty quick, just under 1/3 of a second. I like to slow it down for a bit of drama. So if you do, go over to the advanced. We can go down to transitions. There's our default 300. I'm going to slow mine down to about 750 or 3/4. You can slide or you can type in a value. You can also increment up and down with the little arrows at the side there. 3/4 of a second is going to do fine for me. And the transition speed curve I like to use for mine is ease in and ease out. They're all slightly different. Try them out, but this is what I generally use for my hover effects. Don't want any delay whatsoever. Want it to happen as soon as they put their mouse on it. So we're good to go. So let's save our draft here and exit the Visual Builder. And let's move on down. There it is. There's our little call to action. We've got that little image at first. When we hover anywhere over this, that little call to action is going to pop down and they can click on the button. Nice little effect. And our second one, we had just a simple fade in. So let's do that quickly. And I won't go through all the settings. I'll just show you the different ways of doing it. Let's enable the Visual Builder. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to add a call to action. And this one is a lot easier actually. And I want to get rid of some of that text. Like I say, it doesn't matter how much you have in there. But I've set mine to 300, so we don't want too much. We want to put a link in, so we've got a button that shows up. There's the button. And let's give it a background color. We'll use that purple again. Great. Now let's give it a fixed height by going over to design and sizing. And I'm going to say height 300 pixels. There we are. It's made it the same as our one there. What do we want to do with this one? We're simply going to fade this out and in. So let's put a little image in the column there. We don't need to hide the overflow or anything for this one. So let's save this. I'm going to go into our row now, the green tab for the row. We're in column 2 right here. Column 1, column 2 for the middle. I'm going to go in. Let's just give it a background image. And that's all I need to do to this one. We don't need to put any code in because it's actually taking up the amount we want here. So image, let's add an image. Let's go ahead and put that image in there. Great. Now we can save that. We'll go back into our actual module, save the row settings, go back to our module here. And to make this one fade in, all we need to do is go over to our design tab. We'll go down to filters down here. If we roll down, we've got one called opacity, which is transparency or see-throughness. And again, if we hover over, we've got the little icons that will pop up. Hit the little arrow. Desktop, don't want to see it at all, just want to see the image. And when we hover, I want this thing to fade back in. And the time that it takes to do this, let's go back to desktop. We'll go over to our advanced, transitions, and again, I'm going to say 750. And ease in, ease out. And we should be good to go with that one. That was a lot easier, wasn't it? So let's save this, check this one's going to work. Exit the visual builder. And if we roll over this one, as you can see, that's taking 3/4 of a second to fade in, just like that. And they can hit their call to action. Okay, and our third one, what did we have? Oh, we had a slide in from the left-hand side. So let's do that one quickly. I'm going to enable the visual builder. Okay, again, I'm going to use a little call to action module. And again, let's take some of that text away. Add a little button. And we'll give it that same background color. Obviously that's up to you. Again, we're going to make this a similar height. Don't really have to for this particular one, but I'm just going to make it the same height of it as our others in sizing here. And you may have noticed you can just put in the number, it'll put the pix in for you. But in a minute when we slide this around, you'll notice we may have to change the pix for a percentage to get it to do what we want. Okay, we've got our module in there. We'll just save that. Let's put an image in our row. And again, I don't need to put any code in this row because it's going to stay the height that we want it. So let's go to our green tab. We're working on number 3. 1, 2, 3. We'll put a background image in there. And of course you won't be able to see the image because our little module's on top of it, but we know it's in the background there. And I'm also going to go over to the advanced and change the visibility to hidden again on the vertical and horizontal overflow. We could just do horizontal, but you'd end up with a slider. So I'm going to hide it on both of them. There we go. And then when we slide this module over here to bring it back, you won't see it once it falls out of the column there. Great. So let's go back into our module now. We'll save the row settings. And we'll slide it out of the way. Okay, well let's go over to our design over here. Down to spacing. And I'm going to slide it 100% to the left. So it will slide it 100% of its width over to the left. So to do that, I'm using margin. Here's the left. I'm going to say negative 100, and I'm going to put the percent sign in there. It's slid it over 100%, but it's still hanging over a bit here. To counter that, we need to put padding 100% here to push it off the little column there. So I'm going to say 100% padding, not negative, positive 100%. That leaves us our little handle here and our little modules over here now. And of course, when we hover over it, I want that to be 0, back where it was. But we've got all this padding on the right, so we want to make sure you go over the padding and hit its arrow. Just because you've got it up over here doesn't affect this one. You want to make sure you're on the thing that you actually want to affect. So let's bring the padding arrow up. I'm going to change that to a smaller percent, maybe about 10%. Adjust it to how you want yours. I'm going to go 10%. That looks about right for me. If yours goes too far across, just adjust your percentage so it's exactly where you want it. So when we're not hovering over it, it's way over here. We've got our little purple handle there. When we hover over, it's going to zoom back over here. And again, the time it takes, I'm going to slow it down in the transitions to 750. I'm going to change my speed code to ease in, ease out. Like I say, these are pretty subtle. You might not. Ease will probably work just as well, but I tend to use that ease in, ease out. Now, we've got a little problem there. It's not really a problem. Our handle is obviously covering up our picture. So let's go in and change the opacity on this color until we actually hover over it. Now, I can't get to it again. I can get to delete it. So let's go to our wireframe and we can grab hold of it that way. Okay, we can flip back now we're in there. And I'm simply going to go down to background, still on the content tab. Let's roll this up so you can see what's going on. I'm going to go to background, do what we did on the first one. Roll up over, hit the little arrow icon. When we're in desktop mode, I don't want to see it at all. So I'm going to grab that and bring the opacity down. Like I mentioned in the earlier one, you can just put a transparent color in if you want. And when we hover over it, I want to bring that purple color back. Now if you decide you want to see a bit of the image down behind there, just click on the color and the variegated slider here. You can bring that down so you can see a bit of the image through there but still read the text if you prefer to do it that way. I'll leave that one on that just so you can see the difference. So let's save our changes now. We should be good to go. Save draft or publish if you're ready. And let's exit the Visual Builder. Okay, well let's roll on down. There's our little modules right there. First one, we got a drop in. There's our little call to action. Second one, we just got a fade in. And it should fade in wherever you put your mouse. As for the slide in effect too, yeah. And the last one, we've got a bit of opacity going on the background color. This should slide in from the left hand side. And there it is right there. And like I say, that should happen everywhere because we gave it that sort of handle with the padding. So there you go guys, there's 3 simple but effective hover effects to use with your Divi theme. Really easy to do. Like I say, there's that tiny bit of code, but don't let that put you off. These things really are worthwhile. That's quite a nice setting to have on your desktop site. And don't forget with Divi, if you've got a row or column or even a module that you don't want to display on tablet and mobile, like I say, you might want to do a separate one for tablet and mobile without the hover effects. Really easy. I'll just show you quickly how to do that. If I go into this top row right here, we can go over to advanced and visibility where we were hiding our overflow and things, and you can decide whether you want to display it on phone, tablet or desktop. Okay, say we want to have this one on desktop but we don't want to have it on tablet and mobile. Just simply check those 2 boxes and it will disable them on phone and tablet. Save our changes here and I'll show you exactly what's going to happen for anybody that doesn't know. Let's exit the Visual Builder. Okay, in desktop mode, as you can see, we've got both of those rows of boxes there with the hover effects. This top one I've actually hidden on tablet and mobile. So if I flip to a tablet view, I'm using Google Chrome with the great inspector tools here. If I hit F12, let's drag this down out of the way. I can put my responsive toggle on. And here it is on iPhone 12. And you may notice we've just got that second one. There's no wave pictures at the top there. That's completely missing our top column there because we've disabled it on phone. And if we take a look on the tablet as well, iPad Air, we've still got our 3 little columns there. And again, we've got no wave images. But if we flip back to desktop, our wave images are back. So you can use your visibility to disable and enable any module, section, or row, or column on your site for various different devices. So there you go guys, there's 3 little simple hover effects for you with Divi. I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, or ring the bell, comment, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once again, this has been Jamie with System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.